as per usual. We always seem to have scheduling problems, but we're here and we're ready to do some Duel of Wits and play some wacky NPCs. Little
Yeah.
introductions. I'm Abby. I'm the game master for our Burning Whale campaign, and today I will be playing Bertrand and Valentina as we walk through the city council meeting. Um, I didn't update our overlay, so it still says Logan's playing Venus and Sean is playing Mia. But they will also be playing 2 NPCs each, so this might get a little bit wild.
Woo!
Yeah, it should be fun. John, if you want to introduce Alphonse, just real quick, you don't have to walk through everything, just like what he's been up to.
Cool, yeah. So I'm John, I'm playing Alphonse, so hopefully I'm the least confusing out of all the characters. He is a student at the magic school in the city. He's recently been involved in trying to discover the source of all the disappearances and got roped up in this weird conspiracy where a captain of the guard who was assisting my cousin, who is the head of the religious order, turns out he was not actually with the city guard. So I think we're going to get into that, and it's going to get weird and fun. And that's my character.
Cool. Logan, who are you playing today?
Let's see. I am playing Sir Philip of the aristocracy, the Justicar. And then I'm also playing Osmot. What's his first name? Osmot Augusto, the guild's master of the merchants. And can you give everyone a quick description of how they look, Abby?
Yeah. So you guys can chime in too, because I haven't narrowed this down. But I think Sir Philip Gregory, he's like an older gentleman, like silver foxy.
Ooh.
Got it.
He dresses very nice, as you do when you're in the aristocracy. And he has like a sword on his hip, I think. But it's more of like a ceremonial thing than an actually I'll fight you thing. But he could if he wanted to.
Yes, he could.
So he's very like put together, elderly, as I said, but still in good health. I think Osmont is like your stereotypical like fantasy merchant that has kind of like a beer belly and like has lived life to his fullest, and also dresses well, being like the head of the guilds. Do you have anything to add to that, Logan?
Would you say that Osmont is a happy person?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Jovial.
I'm deciding between jovial or like full-on mafia boss.
Oh, well, you can
Ooh.
I like the mafia boss.
Maybe he's a
Porky
jovial
Mouse
mafia
does.
boss.
Ooh,
You
yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
like or
He does. I mean, he has forced smile, so at least he seems like he's happy.
yeah. He's always got that undercurrent of I wield a lot of power
Yeah.
to all of his nicety.
Okay.
Cool. And then.
Do you want me to introduce my little, I guess, forks and stuff?
No,
Just
I
so-
think we can get into that as we need them.
Okay.
And Sean, who are you playing?
All right. So I'm Sean, of course, and I'm very excited to play Professor Stella Bianchi, who is the warlock and the stand-in headmistress of the school. So not from our magical roots. And then also Captain Lance Doria, who is the admiral and kind of the head of the more militaristic, I guess, force of the city, which we talked about them not necessarily having a standing army, but a strong naval presence due to their large kind of trade reliance.
Yep.
So he's going to be pretty gruff and I guess, he's going to be like, this is a waste. Then again, I think we talked about how all of them think it's a little bit of a waste of time to be at these council meetings.
Right. Awesome. So we've talked about Stella a lot, but Lance, how do you think? Do you have a picture in your mind for Lance?
Yeah, I'm thinking very like kind of Romanesque, like that salt pepper buzz cut,
Yeah.
little bit like stubble, um, very chiseled features, like he's been carved out of stone or something. And he does not emote very often. Like maybe he's always a little bit in a frown, or it's very like placid. He definitely has resting bitch face. And I think he's very terse and very, very, you know, he's dressed in his military garb, and I think he would also carry a weapon with him, a sword probably.
Yeah.
But I would be more afraid of him than probably Sir Philip Gregory.
Probably.
And I think he's middle aged, maybe younger than Sir Philip, but definitely has his years on him.
Yeah, I think Philip is definitely the oldest on the council. And maybe
now that the old headmistress is gone.
Yeah, exactly. I think
I like to think the old headmistress was also a fox, so
she was something, that's for sure.
I think Sophia probably was older than Philip, but she is not here anymore, so
she's not around.
Not currently, not anymore.
So just to sum up, like, span the gap between last session and the start of the city council. John and I talked about this a little bit pre-stream, and end of last session, Alphonse went to Sergeant John to kind of inquire about Captain Logan. Alphonse was a little bit hesitant about trusting him, and Sergeant John said he didn't know who this guy was. So Captain Logan was basically masquerading as a city guard, and Alphonse said we need to let somebody know and escalate this to whoever is the actual captain of the guard. So little baby guard Sean, with his speedy little legs, ran up and got Captain Abby, the actual captain of the city guard. And she came down, and there was a whole spat about Captain Logan, like, impersonating a city guard, and they learned that he had come from the castle guard, and that this was, like, a whole other agency, like, kind of infiltrating and manipulating the people. And Alphonse petitioned for Captain Logan to be put in jail or tried for this crime, and before that could happen, the aristocracy came down and was like, no, we pardon this guy, let us take him back, and then they just whisked him away back to the castle. Yeah, so
who was that?
That was the aristocracy.
No, but who did we pardon?
Captain Logan.
Captain Logan,
okay,
who was like from a secret paramilitary force masquerading as the city guard.
Right.
I remember now.
Yep.
So been a little while.
That all happens, and then time passes. Captain Abby and Sergeant John become extremely busy with the help of Alphonse, interrogating the remainder of the city guard to see if they have any other moles from the castle. And they're just they all they want to do is keep peace within the city, and they don't want the influence of the castle to be contaminating that.
Mm-hmm.
So Alphonse contributes. He creates like a spreadsheet, a medieval spreadsheet, where the city guard can track information and like compile data that they have on how long all the city guard have been in service and like what kind of training they've been through, different information about them, and then compile it all to try to analyze it. And in all of this mess, Bertrand and Philip and Osmond, all three of those call for a meeting of the city council. And being 3 out of the 7, the council meeting it's called, Sergeant John and Captain Abby don't have time to attend, even though they would love to themselves, so they ask Alphonse if he wants to, and that's how
Oh.
we get to this session.
Can you? I'm so sorry. Can you remind me? It was Osmond, and who were the other two that
So
called the session?
Osmont, Philip Gregory, and Bertrand.
It's Philip with one L, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh, I knew I hated him.
And 2 eyes, because I am predominant.
I'm so excited to have you play.
Yeah, I am too. This is going to be great. So, the day of the council meeting arrives, and everybody kind of trickles in and sits around this like large ovoid table. And before we jump into the action, I do want to walk through like some of the basics of Duel of Wits, because we're gonna jump into that, I'm sure, a couple times tonight. Yes, Logan.
Sir Gregory definitely has like a page come into the room and say like, "All stand, Sir Philip Gregory," and then
Literally, no one stands.
I know, but he walks in and then he takes his seat.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah, none of us stand.
I think Bertrand stands and Osmont stands.
Yes.
And probably Lance stands. It's like all the people with etiquette. Plus Bertrand, because they're allies. But
Is
Yes,
it etiquette? Is it etiquette or is it sympathy for traitors?
I mean, do they know that yet, John?
Well, that's something that's gonna come up.
Okay.
Okay, so Duel of Wits. When we start, anytime anybody is talking about something and they're trying to convince the other person, and you feel like it's important to the campaign that we're building or the characters' motivations, just call out that we should do a Duel of Wits. We can make it a shorter one or a longer one depending on how important we think it is. But the point of this session is basically to practice so that we feel comfortable calling for them in the main campaign, because there's less on the line if it's NPCs. Sorry, John,
Right.
you're playing
Except
Alphonse.
for Alphonse. Hey, but you'll get a lot of experience out of it. I forget how it
that's
works
true.
exactly, but I think it's the
Oh,
first
I
time you test a skill,
Yep,
Duel of Wits, you get XP for it.
Yep.
Or
per Duel
Okay.
of Wits, which is awesome.
per Duel of Wits, yes.
Okay, so fork in everything.
Yep.
Cool.
Or fork in nothing if you want a difficult or a challenging.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what kind of test you want.
Yeah.
That's true. I do.
But you
I
could
do wanna
lose,
build my
so.
illustration. Yeah.
So,
We'll see.
the way Duel of Wits works, at the very beginning we say we want to do a Duel of Wits. That's great. Each player briefly describes your case or your point, and why you're right, just to give us like a basis to start from. And then we'll write it out. Both sides must then agree to the other person's terms of the debate. So we'll, under names and terms, we'll say who is arguing who, and then we'll put each person's terms. And each player has to agree to the terms, saying, if I lose, I concede and you will get what you wrote there.
Right.
Demands should be reasonable and achievable. They can't be too crazy. But if there's multiple larger issues, like I said, we can split them up and do smaller ones or what have you. We'll figure it out as we go. So that's that. Then you roll for body of argument, which is basically like your argument's hit points.
Your health, yeah. Body of argument, aka your health.
Yeah. So you can roll interrogation, oratory, persuasion, rhetoric, and then you add that to whatever your base for your will is. And I didn't list will for everybody, but I think everybody except for Stella and maybe Lance has 4 will, and then I think they both have 3.
So, 3 will.
Yep.
Thanks.
I guess I
Make
gave
my
you
life
both
difficult.
of them,
Weak.
Technically,
If it
Stella can cast spells during this, but you know, we'll
yeah.
see.
If she wants to, she can. That seems questionable, though.
if
It might
makes
piss
you,
a lot of people off, but it depends how good a spell it is.
she can do it carefully and stealthily, right?
Well, you would have to roll to do it stealthily.
Yeah.
I have faith in her.
I mean, also, if you're doing it in the middle of an argument, I don't think there's really any good way you can do that stealthily. I'll be honest, just within the fiction.
She's tutting under the table.
Unless she's
Mhm.
helping, unless she was casting a spell while another Duel of Wits was happening,
Mhm.
which we shouldn't rule out,
Yeah.
so...
Get wild.
Big fan of that.
Also,
Big
she could
fan.
just kill everybody and then she could win the argument.
Only
I
if
don't
she's
think she
put
wants that.
Destroy with Sorceress Fire near the top.
I was like, yeah, wait, what are her top 3 again?
I think she is
I might
very
need to know
similar
that.
to Mia, so you can just use Mia's.
Just use me as...
Yeah.
Okay.
Except she probably has trait up in there too if Mia doesn't.
She doesn't.
Okay.
Sean, you should try Destroy the Sorcerer's Fire anyway because it works so well.
It did work so well.
Yeah, I mean, what can go wrong? They're
Big
NPCs,
cat.
I don't care. Alphonse is the only player character, and he's not mine.
Pulls the story in such a new direction that I think it's just worth it. Like, let's just grenade the whole city council.
What could go wrong?
We
So,
gotta keep things interesting.
once you've determined your body of argument, we'll put those numbers down so we can keep track of everybody's health, quote unquote. And then we jump into the duel. So, Logan, if you're on Twitch, Logan shared a link in chat so you can kind of follow along with the different volley options. But each round, each player will play 3 different cards, of which I have some just like this. And they will be placed face down. And then once both players have played their 3, they flip over their first one. Yep. So first
Yeah, it
volley
goes
is
in order.
revealed and then second volley is revealed.
Yeah.
So we can flip the cards and then see what people choose, and then we'll play through that. Depending on the different actions taken, you have to speak your part. So there's 7 different options, and we can kind of walk through them like the first time we run into them. I think you all have
Yeah.
kind of caught up on them, so we kind of know what we're doing. And we'll walk through them and kind of what we need to do to speak the part before each volley. Once the volley happens, depending on which action you chose, we'll roll some dice, take some damage, all that good stuff, and then once the argument is resolved, i.e. somebody gets to 0 hit points, then we talk about compromise or winning if the other person really didn't take all that much damage at all. So that's it. It's pretty simple, really.
So simple.
And I've listed out for each of the NPCs a list of the applicable skills that people could use, and how many dice they get for that skill, and then any applicable forks. So each NPC has been given 4 different forks that you might be able to put into your speaking the part bit, and then you can argue for that fork if that got incorporated into your argument. I think that's all I wanted to go over, so we can just jump into it. So we're all sitting around this table. This page comes in and is like, blows a little trumpet, is like, please stand for Sir Philip Gregory. And then he continues playing the trumpet and like walks out of the room. And this elderly gentleman like strides into the room and pulls out a chair for himself and sits down. I think the room is silent for a little bit, and then Bertrand stands. Like there's maybe like 20 seconds of silence once Philip comes in, and everybody's just kind of looking at each other, like grimacing because they hate attending these meetings, etc.
Yeah, sizing everyone up too.
Yeah.
How quickly can we get out of here? Yeah.
And Bertrand stands and addresses the room, and he says something to the effect of, like, "My compatriots, thank you for joining me today. I'm glad that we could all get together and discuss some of the important issues that are occurring in our city. As some of you know, the North Ward was exploded and burned down. I think a couple weeks ago, right? Because we've decided Mia
It's
has
been some time.
gotten
Yeah.
out by then. And he says, like, the temple has been working on renovations and healing the sick and wounded, but there is still a threat, and I believe that threat is being housed at the school. And he kind of like leaves it there and looks at Stella to like.
Yeah, okay. I think Stella rises to her full height. Does she know about the the castle guard situation yet?
I don't think so.
Think so? You don't think so? Okay. I think she rises up to her full height, and ready for a fight. And kind of nods, like she's very poised though, and kind of nods graciously to Bertrand despite his sort of dig at her, and says, "We are aware that there has been a terrible, terrible accident on the part of one of our students, and the school is deeply sorry for the hurt it has caused to the city and is doing all it can to make amends to those that have been injured and hurt."
I'm sorry. Who exactly are you? Where's the headmistress?
Well, your lordship, unfortunately, Sophia is indisposed at the moment. You know, she was always the longest lived of us all, and unfortunately, she's taken to bed at the moment. And I will be stepping in as the second in command of the city. My name is Stella Bianchi, if you have not heard of me already.
I have not.
Well, I'm always happy to introduce myself. As I was saying, while the city has been hurt by the school, we will make amends. And we want it to be known that much of this city's renown and wealth is due to the experiments and the work of the school. On top of that, we have heard a startling and frankly disturbing situation that has developed where people are disappearing from the very city underneath our noses. And the school has nothing to do with that. And yet it is still happening, and we've heard no action on the course of the city guard, the admiralty, the nobility, or the theologians that seem to hold themselves so highly above everyone else.
Bertrand
She's getting
speaks
a little
up again.
impassioned. Yeah. And she looks around and is like, the fact she's channeling a little Mia right now. This is what Mia wishes she was saying. This is the ugly truth coming out. That sweet, sweet skill that all mages should have. And frankly, the fact that the ruling participants of this city have let it gone by for so long without any action is incredibly disturbing. And she sits down very...
Can Alphonse interject before Bertrand?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think as Professor Stella is saying the part about the city guard, Alphonse is immediate like, ears up, this is what I'm here for,
Mhm.
and stands up and waits his turn to talk. And so if Bertrand wants to speak over him, you know what, let him, but I'm guessing there's some sort of like way that you interject that it is my turn to talk first,
Mhm.
and that he's doing that and then waiting for his turn.
Okay. Out of character, I want to ask, do people feel like Stella saying this is like big news and shocking to people?
2 or 3 weeks out from the first few disappearances, I would almost guess no.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
I-
thinking it's like some of them might pretend to be surprised, but a lot of them knew kind of on the periphery that this was starting to happen.
Yeah. Okay, then
Mhm.
instead of interrupting, Bertrand just like leans over and whispers to Philip.
What does he
Um,
whisper?
he's just like talking about like how like this is all like this is the play that the magic school makes, and like they can't be trusted. She says that they're not responsible for the disappearances, but he hasn't had anybody go missing because of the grace of the gods and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's probably affected like the nobility either. So, Sir,
Yeah.
it might actually be news, Sir Philip.
Hmm.
I think
Uh,
Captain Logan knew about it though,
y-
right?
at least in passing,
I think in
because at one
passing. So
point,
I don't think it's a complete
yeah.
shock to anybody.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
And then,
cool.
yeah, Stella sits down, and people's gazes turn to Alphonse. Kind of surprised that the representative for the city guard is like speaking up.
Side note, out of character, would
Yeah.
we have had a chance to introduce ourselves outside of that ridiculous display that Sir Philip did?
No. Because I think everybody knows each other, except like Stella was like, this is who I am, this is why I'm here, instead of Sophia. And then the city
Okay.
guard representative, I think, would usually be very passive, so they don't even need
Right.
introduced.
We've talked about that. Okay, cool. Cool, then I'll just start. I'm Alphonse, a previous page of the city guard and a current student at the university, and a sometimes worshiper at the churches here in our great city. And I think Stella hit on an excellent point in that the city guard has been working, but with very little assistance from the rest of the guilds here in town to put a stop to these disappearances and to come to understanding of what's causing them. I guess, Bertrand, you've known about this for just over 2 weeks since I mentioned it to you. Do you have anything to say about it?
Bertrand like finishes whispering to Philip and is like, "Excuse me, Alphonse, what were you saying?"
I do so appreciate being heard. Bertrand, I spoke to you about the disappearances 2 weeks ago, and you've chosen to do nothing to help the city guard. Do you have anything to say for yourself and your
I
flock?
have protected the temples, and I have communicated with the city guard, and
You've communicated.
I have not experienced any of these so-called disappearances, nor
Alphonse
have...
absolutely cuts in
Yeah.
if he can, and he is saying, you communicated with the royal guard, which the city guard has just learned about, and you yourself has not disappeared. That's true, but some of your flock have.
Alphonse! It is a long-standing tradition in these councils that the guards remain quiet.
I think
Sir Philip,
Lance stands up though.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that, Sir Philip, it is still my turn to talk.
Sir Philip Gregory.
It is still my turn to talk.
I think Lance like looks at you though a little
Scary.
death stary.
like
it's a
quit,
little
right?
intimidating. Like he wants you to stop talking for at least half a second.
In any case, Stella was right in that the city guard has not received a lot of help in terms of the disappearances, and we're overwhelmed. What with trying to make sure that we're not, infiltrated by causes that may wish harm to the city guard, and tracking all of the disappearances in our normal day-to-day guarding the city. We need help. And
Admiral,
I'll sit down.
Okay, and this is Ozma. I need a new voice.
You need a different voice for
Oh, what is my voice
Make
for
it Mafia.
Osmond? I don't know how to do a mafia
No,
voice.
not too mafia.
He's just from Boston.
I just resort to a Boston accent for everything I need. That or a New Jersey.
Uh,
Oh, jeez, Jersey.
Admiral Lance, do you feel, as the captain of the guard, no, as the admiral of the military, that these disappearances pose a threat to the city?
I think Lance is completely stone-faced, and he looks at Osmont, and he goes, "Despite how little I appreciate the interjection of the city guard, I find it very troubling that he mentions some sort of castle guard. This is something that must be investigated immediately. The only military force in this city is the Admiralty, and that is me." And he slams the table. On top of this, I do agree with Miss Bianchi. Stella, you are correct. We have noticed sailors disappearing more than usual. Something is afoot. And I'm very curious which of you fine folk know anything about it. And he sits down.
Well, I guess that answers that question then.
Stella stands up again and she goes, "Thank you, Lance, of course, for your support. We also find it very concerning that there's some sort of other force. Alphonse, you were cut short by a most esteemed Sir Philip, and yet he seems to be related to whatever this unknown quantity is. Do you have any more information about this castle guard, I think you mentioned, royal guard?" And then sits down.
Yes. Alphonse will stand up and say, "Thank you, Professor Bianchi, for noticing. We did discover the existence of a castle or royal guard, which, makes sense, but maybe we should check what I have written here in my copious notes on the subject against what Sir Philip is willing to offer on the subject." And
Bertrand
he'll
stands
sit
up
down.
again and he's like, "My fellow council members, I can assure you there is no need to listen to the rants of this backup guard that they sent. He's not even a real city guard, and he goes to the magic school, so of course he would be aligned with Stella or the headmistress, wherever she may be."
It does seem to be a conflict of interest.
Alphonse will stand back up and say, "I think the supposed conflicts of interest are what ensure that I make sure I'm treading the lines very carefully here. But after all, this is about a council working for the betterment of the city, not an individual council member or committee. Am I incorrect?"
You must be new here.
I think Lance stands up and he's going to take a stand because this is very important to him, at least.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care about the fire. He doesn't care about the disappearances that much. He can always find more soldiers, but the
That's
idea
true.
that there's another military force is very upsetting.
Yeah.
So he stands up and he says, I demand to investigate whatever these forces are within the nobility and I will root out whatever is happening there, whether there's truth in it or not.
Alphonse with
He wants to make a duel of wits out of this.
Sure.
Ooh.
Against who?
Wait,
Against either Bertrand or Sir Philip Gregory, I guess, or whoever would try and defend. Like he, yeah, his
Let's
statement
do
of
it.
purpose is.
Yeah.
His statement of purpose is there's enough evidence to suggest there's a military force that is unaccounted for.
Mhm.
I must investigate it in order to eliminate the threat.
I don't think you're gonna need a duel of wits because Sir Philip's just gonna tell you about it.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
I think you might need a duel of wits to convince him that you need to investigate it, but
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Lance wants to use military forces to investigate
yeah, I think I agree that
the nobility's holdings, more or less, and how their money is being spent. You know, like, do they have barracks that aren't supposed to be there? Like, I feel like our council would have set up relatively strict, limitations on city guard and the admiralty.
Mm-hmm. And like, who of the landed gentry can have how many of what kind of troop, basically.
Right. Yeah. It's like you're expected to have a certain amount of guardsmen, but those would also potentially be supplied by the city guard or connected to them somehow. So if you suddenly have these troops that no one knows about, it would also be an investigation of the city guard, but I don't think the city guard would care.
Yeah, and if Alphonse can offer assistance throughout the Duel of Wits, like he'll be giving you the documents.
if you
Well, you can help
how
with
long they've been in what positions.
during the speaker part, if people want to like add stuff to it and we feel like if it contributes significantly enough, you can like help.
I think this one doesn't necessarily have to be a full one. We can do a smaller version too. Just I want to get a duel going.
Yeah, I do too. So I think we're gonna do it versus Sir Philip.
Nice.
And Sir Philip, what do you want?
I want. Let's see. You will investigate the royal guard with military force.
Does that sound good, Sean? Is that okay.
Sir Philip will state, or Sir Philip will say that the nobles' goings on are outside the purview of the military.
So the military will leave the manners of royalty to the aristocrats. Yeah?
Yeah. Wait, okay, is there this royalty, is there a king?
Yes.
I think we decided there was a descendant of the king.
There is somebody at the castle that is like being groomed to be the king of the city and is the king of the castle.
But he holds no actual political power.
Exactly.
It's like the Queen of England, I guess.
And actually,
so like
none
he's not hidden, but like if Sir Philip was talking about the king, people would know what he's talking about. Okay.
Does that do those statements sound good? Do you both agree to the terms of the duel?
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess. Yes.
You don't have to. You can
I'm
walk
just
away.
saying, like, is this our statement, or our body? Oh wait, no, our statement of purpose, or is this like what we want to happen if we win, or are those the same thing?
I kind of combined them, actually, to be honest. So my statement of case, I guess, would be there's enough evidence that there's a third military force that must be investigated, and it is within my right as the military leader to investigate that and shut it down because it is not allowed within the rules of the council.
Yeah.
Okay, so then your terms would be if you win, you investigate.
My terms are if I win, I will investigate the nobility with military force.
Okay.
And
so then...
I I guess the other thing is not just investigate, it's like shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will shut down this military force if I discover it exists.
Yep.
Okay, and then I guess so my statement of case is like the aristocracy is outside the purview of the military, and if I win, then the military will not leave. They'll stay in their lane.
We'll never investigate. We'll not. Yeah, we'll. I don't want to say like never again, but they won't. Yeah, look into noble affairs.
Does the military keep the peace inside the city, or does it keep the peace outside the city?
The city guard keeps the peace in the city. The military kind of oversees that, like they're not the same, but very related. And then the military is like the national force.
Okay.
We're like
And like
the
especially
city guard can't handle it. They call in the app.
Yeah,
exactly.
and it's
Okay.
especially to do with like the naval forces,
Yep.
right? Since we're
Yeah, specifically.
such a trade city.
Yes.
I guess if I win, I want the military to not do anything inside the city walls.
We'll leave.
Like if the city guard is a whole branch of government, then the military does not need to be inside the city.
But the city guard doesn't get to vote on the council.
They
Oh,
do. They
shit.
just
They
abstain.
can. They just usually
Oh, they
don't.
can. They just
Historically,
usually don't.
right? That's right. Boy, howdy, Alphonse is breaking
Okay,
all-
this might need to be a full duel of wits. That's a pretty tall order. Lance doesn't want to give up control.
Okay, do you both agree to the terms?
Sure.
Yeah, I guess.
These don't affect my characters at all, so I don't.
But I want to win because I'm competitive.
I just love Sir Philip.
Okay, both of you need to roll body of argument. So choose interrogation, oratory, persuasion, rhetoric. Which one you want to roll? So it'll be the best one.
Oratory.
Wait, okay, what were they?
Interrogation, oratory, persuasion, or rhetoric.
Oratory.
Yep. So you're both rolling oratory. You both have 4.
So we both roll a d4?
You roll.
No, you roll 4d6.
Oh, 4d6, yeah.
And also,
Said that.
each NPC I think has 2 fate and 1 persona.
Oh.
jeez.
Let's make this harder, sure.
Oh my god.
Maybe
okay.
1 and 1, so that it's easier to keep track.
1 and 1. 1 fate, 1 persona?
Yep.
Okay.
Just in case something like matters a lot and we need something for it. So Logan got 3.
4d6.
And I add that to my will of
Oh, no.
4, so it's 7.
Ah.
So I got 3 as well.
So you're at 6.
And I am at 6.
Oh,
Oh. What a...
All right.
everything will be fine. Sean, Sir Lance will have the city guard's help.
This is true. So, next step, I guess we script our
So
first exchange.
there's those cards in the bottom right. You can click choose, and then you can drag them onto the board to deal. If you can place them in order on the orange box underneath the character's name. That would
Oh
be
my
nice.
god.
Now you have to try and remember, like, what's good to
What everything
use.
does, and you cannot use the same one back to back.
You cannot. You are correct.
Oh my god. Do you want to just go through them real quick, Abby?
Yeah. So while we're waiting for them to choose, the options are to avoid the topic, which means that the speaking player must veer off topic even to the point of sounding desperate or ridiculous. You do this in order to prevent damage to yourself. You get to roll test will, and then you avoid any avoid successes are subtracted from your opponent's attack. You can dismiss, which happens if you think you're going to win. You get extra 2 dice to your roll, but if you fail to win the battle during the dismiss, then you have to hesitate
Wait.
on your next action, so you lose it.
Oh God, I don't know
Next-
what these cards
it's-
are.
Next action, or like the first one of your next volley, right? Or next one of the first
Yep.
exchange.
Yep. So you,
Okay.
you
I
can
remember
feint,
hearing-
which means you try to lure your opponent into thinking you're discussing one point, and then you introduce some kind of hidden like barb. During that, that's used, like, you can extort people, falsehood, interrogation. It's a lot more of those. Feint can bypass rebuttal and attack, feint, insight, and obfuscate. You can incite your opponent, which is basically just insulting them, which can make the victim hesitate, and if they do, then they miss their next action. You can obfuscate, which is basically just trying to distract your opponent with unrelated facts or a different topic. Point is the main attack. You just test persuasion, interrogation, oratory, whatever you want, and then any successes are subtracted from the body of argument. Rebuttal, you let the other player make their point first, and then you refute the argument on your side and present a counterpoint. And when making a rebuttal, you have to divide your dice between attack and defense, and then you choose which ones you want to go where, and the attack dice hurt the other person, and the defense dice prevent you from taking damage. That's the long and short of it.
Do we?
Oh,
So
and
like,
it's long and it's long more than short.
The long
so for
and short of it.
example, let's just say that Sean and I both make a point
Yep.
for our first one. Do we flip the card and then role play, or do we role play and then flip the card?
You both flip your first card, and then
You
we
flip the
decide
card
who goes
first, guys.
and then that person goes first.
Got it. I think I'm ready.
I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm trying to be like, I'm good, but
All right.
probably not. Okay,
This will be fun.
so let's do it.
So both of you flip your first.
Ready?
Yeah, oh, I already
Nice.
flipped it.
Perfect. Makes
So
sense.
Captain Lance will be making a point first, and then Sir Philip will be rebutting that point.
And when do I decide my dice?
You decide your dice after you speak the part.
Okay, got it.
All right.
So based on what you say, then we discuss like what skill you're using, what forks and you can fork in other skills that are listed here too. So
Yeah.
if you were telling a falsehood and you have seduction, you could tell a sexy falsehood, and then you
Sexy
We can use
false.
other forks, you said?
Yes. You can use
Okay.
the forks that are listed, the 4 that I've given each NPC, plus any other skill that they have listed that has a number.
Yeah. All right.
Take
So
it away.
Lance is going to make a point, which now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what the frick does point even use as its base? Because this is how little I know. Oh.
So point you can use interrogation, oratory, persuasion, or rhetoric. And since Logan's rebutting, this is going to be a versus test.
Yeah. Shoot, I totally misread something when I was looking at that. My bad. Anyways, we're gonna roll with it. So, I think he looks at Sir Philip Gregory, and he says, "Are you hiding something from us, Sir Philip Gregory? Is the aristocracy hiding something from us? It is unwise to keep things away from your fellow council members, to deny supplies for the city by hoarding it for the aristocracy is completely illogical and hurts the city as a whole. Also, you wouldn't want the full force of the military against you, would you? And so I'm trying to use interrogation as my main skill, and I want to fork in intimidation and then strategy or supply-wise. All right. Do we think that works?
I think. Yeah. Which one do you want to fork in, or do you want to try
Oh.
both of them?
I would like to fork both. I was trying to be intimidating by calling in the full force of the military, and then use like supply-wise or strategy as like it doesn't make sense to be hoarding these resources from the city. You're keeping it for the aristocracy as opposed to the city that's just been burned.
Mhm.
I think intimidation and supply-wise both make sense. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Cool. So you
Nice.
get
Alright.
a total of where's your
5.
interrogation? 5. Yeah.
My interrogation's 3, so 5d6.
Yep.
Oh, and I only got 2 out of that. All right.
So now I rebuttal.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, for the first time, Sir Philip stands, clears his throat. Good council members. It has long been tradition of this city that the rules inside are not the purview of the military. They deal outside the city. This is demonstrated in common criminals being taken up by the city guard, not the military. And the aristocracy has long been independent of the military. At one point, they were subservient to us. However, he drones on for a while. And then wraps it up and says, and so further, the military interfering in the goings-on of the aristocracy is highly uncalled for and very out of line.
Yep. All right. Nice rebuttal.
So, I wanted to use oratory.
Yep.
Would give a very long speech.
Yep.
I wanted to fork in, I guess, criminal-wise, when I was talking about what happens to criminals, like the guards do stuff, and then the rule of law, just as the city works.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
How does, really quick, how does assisting work?
So
or helping?
If at any time the person that you want to help is like at a break and you think that you have something to add, you can interrupt basically. And
you
then,
can interject.
Yeah, interject.
And aid. So you missed your chance on this one.
So
not as exciting as I thought, because I would love to chime in on rule of law.
Technically, you can cast spells.
So I had 6 total. I will do 2 defense and 4 offense.
Okay, and usually for future rebuttals, you would choose your split. Like you would both talk, and then you would choose your split before Sean rolls the point dice.
Yeah, we probably should have done.
Okay, so my defense 0.
Nice. So I get 2 damage.
And then 4d6. 1.
All right, so Lance takes 1 damage, and Philip takes 2 damage.
Yes, he does.
Preposterous.
Preposterous. Such is the way of things, Lord Philip.
All right. Then, do you both want to flip your second volley?
I would love to.
Ooh.
Oh! 2 insight.
Oh my god.
We both hate each other a lot.
Okay, so insight versus insight is just standard.
Standard. And he goes first.
Because he's older.
Technically.
Yeah.
Because he is older and more wise.
Yep.
Oh god.
So, for insight, the speaking the part description says, with an acid tongue and biting wit, a character may attempt to distract or dismay his opponent. The speaking player must pronounce an outright insult to their opponent.
What's your name?
Lance.
Captain Lance. How dare you? Come for the aristocracy. The most noble house of Gregory will not stand for your petty words and vicious attacks.
Nice.
You will be silent, I do say, sir.
Go ahead, John.
All right. Lance is completely unmoved. By the way, like I imagine Sir Philip is just like spraying as he talks, and Lance is just completely stone faced. He looks at Sir Philip Gregory and he goes, "The great house of Gregory is no more, despite its descendants existing before us. You were removed from the council. I mean, you were removed from authority because of the aristocracy's ineptitude in governing this city. And I advise you to stay out of situations that are bigger than your little money and nobility problem. This involves more people than you deal with on the regular basis. So stay in your lane."
Phenomenal.
So, both of you have to make standard tests. The ob is equal to the other person's will exponent.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
If you pass the standard test, then the victim, so the person you're attacking, has to make a steal test, which I guess we'll have to talk about what these people's steal numbers are.
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like an admiral has better steel than.
Yeah, I was like, I
Yeah,
better
I
have
agree.
better
Yeah.
skill.
Well, then we'll just use those questions. There's rules for all of this.
They're not wrong. And then if you fail your steal test, then you hesitate and you have to miss your next action. But if the insight fails, then any margin of failure gets added as advantage dice to the next test
Yeah.
of your opponent.
That's a fun one.
Okay. I was trying to intimidate and then apply some etiquette as well.
Cool.
I was trying to command and also intimidate.
Nice. I think you both
Sound
did that
good?
for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so I roll 6.
Jeez.
Yep. Ooh.
Oh my
And
god!
you still only got one. Awesome. The dice hated you. All right, so I only roll 5, I believe. Yeah, my command plus 1 from intimidation. All right, I only got 1.
High rolls. So what happens?
So,
Nothing?
you both failed. Logan failed by 2, and Sean failed by 3.
3.
3.
So Lance gets
Oh.
plus 2 advantage dice on the next volley, and Philip gets plus 3 advantage dice. on the next
God.
volley.
Oh,
Wait.
God.
So neither of us make steal tests?
So neither of you
No.
make steal tests.
Oh, because
That's
neither
only
of us
if you succeed.
succeeded.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I was so banking on that.
I know.
Oh.
Flip
That
the
was
next
rough.
one.
And onwards and upwards. Ah!
Interesting.
So Sir Philip will take it away with a point, and then Lance will follow up with a rebuttal. Again, the rebuttal dice get chosen before point rolls, so both of you do your
Yes.
speaking the part, and then we'll deal with it.
Right, so we can decide on roll
Yep.
amounts first.
Oh, jeez. What can I even do with a point? Oh my god, I should have looked at this stuff
I mean, you
beforehand.
have plus 3 on your point, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Oh god, okay. Okay, so, once again, Sir Philip stands up and clears his throat. Wait, what was the last thing you said? What am I even responding to?
I
that your
said
house was
your
no more.
line had declined and you'd been removed from power for a good reason.
Got it. That most noble house of Gregory has indeed fallen from its height. However, we are still a force to be reckoned with, a co-equal branch of this council. We will not allow the military to tread all over us.
I think that's to the point.
And then he system.
Yeah.
Okay, as a rebuttal, I think Lance normally very taciturn and doesn't want to talk a lot, but he kind of goes on this time and he says, he waxes maybe a little poetic about the history of the council, and he says, while the aristocracy is indeed a member of this council, and we recognize that it does have import, we also recognize that the city has thrived and excelled without full control from the council and through a level of control on all sides of the council. Every member is held accountable in multiple ways. The aristocracy is not allowed to simply exempt itself just as no one else is. That is why we keep coming and why this noble institution was decided on in the first place. I'm trying to do like an oratory. Golf.
I was also trying to do oratory.
Nice.
Well, we can both orate.
And I would like to have forked in rule of law, talking about co-equal branches.
Yep.
Oh God. In that case, would Sean's talking point have been an opportunity for Alphonse to chime in to help or not?
I mean, you can if you want.
I think you have to chime in and just try and make it work.
Yeah.
In that case, my chime in would also have been about co-equal branches of government and how that's not, like, that means it's 7 co-equal branches and not 2 co-equal between the nobility and the city.
Yeah. That's fair.
Okay, so 1 help die for Sean?
Yep.
For Lance, sorry. Okay, I guess I need to decide. So that means I have 4 plus 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7.
Can I have responded
Oh God.
to Alphonse and said, Alphonse, we are having a discussion. Please do not interrupt.
Yeah.
And fork in etiquette.
Are there rules in the council for assisting on Duels of Wits? How many rabbit holes
You
are we
don't know.
gonna go down?
You've never come to one, and no one gave you a pamphlet.
Well, get used to me being here.
Here, welcome to your first council meeting. This is what you need to know.
There's like a safety video in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right,
And
exactly.
like a flight
Please keep
attendant
your
to
hands and
explain
feet
it.
inside your
like,
own
here's
lane.
the thing that-
Uh,
Okay, well, if Phil says that to me, Alphonse will just say, I'm excited to see you more frequently.
all right. I think he is going to do 4 to defense and 3 to off.
Okay. And how many, Logan, do you have total?
So 4 from oratory, forking in rule of law, and then forking in etiquette.
Okay.
So
So
6.
6 plus 3. So you have
Oh
9.
yeah.
Dick.
Oh
I
my
do think
god.
there's a way. Hold on. Roll 20. Show successes. Because that'll be way better. If we can do it.
If we can do it.
Big if. If is good, though.
Nope. There's no way to do it.
So you just roll whatever the target number is. You say like roll 3d6 greater than 3. And that should do it.
I have some bad news.
What?
I had already done that.
Maybe with
But you didn't put a
Logan.
space
Yeah,
after
you
the
put a
3. Maybe you
space.
need a space.
Oh.
No, don't
Wait,
put no spaces.
Oh. Yeah, cool.
Okay, well,
'Cause that'll
we'll
be
start
way
doing
better.
that then. Okay, well,
Okay,
I got 3, then,
No.
I believe. Or do you want me to re-roll?
You have...
Oh, is
I mean,
4? Wait,
Sure,
what?
I'd love you to re-roll. Re-roll.
4s are successes?
Yeah.
4s are successes.
What game are we playing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes.
Yikes. Oof.
Yeah, that's a
You
lot.
cannot count. 6. You have 6 successes.
What? 1, 2, 3, 4.
5,
5.
I get
6,
5.
6, 4, 4.
Oh, I can't count. Whoa.
I was
What
like,
game are you playing?
Okay, so I'm rolling my defense. Oh, I
You
did the
put
same
the
mistake we
slash.
always do. My bad. I'm sorry. All right, make sure I can remember my greater than and less than symbols.
Oh my god.
It's not even
Why
one
did it
success
count?
because it needs
Yeah,
to be
I guess we have
greater
to
than
do
4.
3.
Yeah. So that's your defense is 0.
Yep.
Oof. Yikes.
So 3d
So you need 5 on this, right?
greater than
Oh. Oh,
4.
yikes.
1 success
Okay.
for my attack.
So Lance
So-
takes 5 damage.
Wow.
Oh, that was
Jeez.
rough. Oh my
And
god.
Philip takes 1.
Yes.
Oof.
Oof, that was bad.
Wow.
You reduced it to 1.
No.
No.
There we go.
2, 4.
No, I'm at 4.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's at
Yeah,
4.
you're right. Okay. Great. So thus ends, and we
Oh,
must
that was bad.
compromise.
We must
So-
compromise.
I'm gonna call it a minor compromise, or just
Cool.
a compromise. So,
Yeah.
Philip, your argument was reduced to thereabouts half.
It was also reduced by a few points, Abby.
Yeah, but it's thereabouts half. And you owe Lance a solid compromise. So you must grant a significant concession regarding your own goal or agree to an additional related condition that he wants. And you both can discuss what this would be. And it's not necessarily that Philip's like, yes, that sounds like a deal to me, but he has like internally compromised in some way, like he's been
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, he understands the council has decided that
right.
Mm-hmm.
it is outside of the Admiralty's, reign or field to investigate, do such an intense investigation
Yep.
of
Mm-hmm.
the aristocracy. But they will not abide by just having the aristocracy,
So I think Philip would propose that the military will return to being outside of the city,
Mm-hmm.
and the Royal Guard will continue to operate at the castle,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like, I don't know. I think he wants to be like, okay, you can go outside this. You are outside the city. You can come inside the city as well. But we're going to operate at the castle, and then we can also go out inside the city.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, I don't think. I think his attempt at a compromise would be, we will move completely out of the city. We will elevate the city guard to entirely the city, and the royal guard must stay. Will be recognized and must stay entirely within the castle.
What if the military will leave the city? The city guard will be expanded to, come up to the level they need to be. And they will work in coordination with the council or the castle guard. So like what the military was to the city guard, the castle guard will now be to the city guard. But the admiral will be recognized as the supreme, person who is in charge of
All of the military
Force.
forces.
of all the military forces. And so he can have
Purview.
not oversight of the castle guard, but I don't know, he's he can do his little inspections and make sure everything is Or the city guard or the castle guard will become a formal branch of the military, but will be directly under the aristocracy.
I think that's more what he's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that makes more sense with kind of our statements of intent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like the royal guard becomes a legitimate member of the military force, but is entirely under the purview of the aristocracy. City guard and navy will not investigate, will not necessarily interact or really have any effect on them.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to add in there that your argument was only about well, you say you shutting down the Royal Guard, but I don't think the City Guard had any intention of shutting down the Royal Guard.
Yeah, but I own the city guard.
Yeah.
Is that how it works? Is that why we have 7 co-equal branches?
Yeah.
I wanna put this to the
Kinda.
GM because you two are playing your roles very well.
Why don't we abolish the city guard's vote on the council?
Agreed.
You are dismissed, Alphonse.
I think
Yeah, I think what's your input, Abby?
the city guard would the military trumps the city guard. The city guard is not necessarily
Subservient to or commanded by.
but if they ever went against orders from the military, that would be completely unacceptable. So they're what they're proposing is that the Royal Guard basically becomes an open member of the military force, being the military plus the city guard and then plus the Royal Guard here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying the Royal Guard will operate openly instead of the military doesn't need to leave the city's affairs alone anymore, because look, the Royal Guard's just going to be here and you can see them, but you won't shut us down.
What further? No, okay, I guess that's so. Okay, once we reach this compromise, Philip has something to add, but it's sort of outside the scope of us coming up with the compromise.
Okay.
So our compromise is the city guard becomes an official member that the
castle
Navy
guard
will not. Yeah, sorry, the castle guard. You're right. Yes, sorry. The castle guard will become, or Royal Guard will become, full member of the military force, and it'll be completely under the purview of the aristocracy. The Navy will not attempt to interfere at all, but the Navy will still retain its
Authority
influence
over
within
it,
the city.
Yep.
So
Yes.
you won in the sense that you got entire control of your military
yes.
force.
Yes.
But
and it
I
is the
still-
Royal Guard.
And I refuse to rescind authority over the city proper, though.
Yep.
I think that's fair.
Cool.
Yeah.
Does that read fine to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me read through it one more time really quick. Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
All right.
Basically,
Lance sits
we
down,
know you're
disgruntled.
there. We know you're there, but we're not investigating.
At least it's out in the open, but they can still kind of do whatever the fuck they want.
Mhm.
All right, carry on.
Alphonse at that point will stand up and say, now that that's settled, there's some matters to attend to for the city guard. Firstly, that we've been devoting altogether too much of our assets to weeding out this new legitimized royal guard. We need assurances that they won't be continuing to infiltrate our ranks and wasting resources that we could be using to better the city and get to the bottom of these disappearances.
Agreed.
I was like, yeah, I think Lance says agreed. Each military force should be kept to itself. All dealings should be official and documented.
I hold up my copious amounts of notes and I say, we'll know if there are interferences from either of them. And they are entirely inappropriate to have if we're trying to operate a smoothly ran city.
I propose that in order to reconcile differences between our branches of the military, we unify them under one central authority who has one vote on the council. The
I'm
military
saying-
being
Lance is
the
like-
largest.
I am the central authority. What are you
Yeah,
talking?
yeah. So the military
Nope.
being the largest branch of the military would
The
rightly have
military being the largest branch of the military.
of this force,
The Navy.
Yes. A second council is what I'm proposing. One of the Royal Guard, the City Guard, and the military, which reports to Lance, and then Lance is on this committee.
Oh, I see what you mean. So someone
Um,
under him
So you're
that helps
suggesting,
to oversee everything.
Yeah.
and you're
Yes.
also basically suggesting that
The city guard's
Uh,
removed from
Sir
the council.
Lance, well,
I've had enough of Alphonse.
really, no. He's suggesting that Captain Lance and myself give up the votes for our respective branches and
No, he
report
says I
strictly
stay on
to
the
Sir
council.
Yeah, Lance
Lance.
stays on the council.
But he's no longer the admiral. He is the chancellor of force, or some bullshit. term.
Chancellor of Force. I think Lance is
I
intrigued,
think
but he does not want to concede any more points to Sir Philip, who he finds completely intolerable.
I think consolidation
he-
of
Says, Sir Philip, while that is a fascinating take on the situation, I think we might want to save it for another meeting.
Alphonse is going to reclaim his time because he's been standing this whole time. And,
Literally none of the council members care.
and say, Phil, what an interesting idea to consolidate power. I wonder how the rest of the council feels about it. But to my original point, we need more resources to deal with the disappearances that have been affecting all of the sectors represented here. And I wonder if anyone has anything to say with or about why we've been having to deal with those infiltrations and or attempts to divert our resources.
We
And I
have
am looking-
stated we will leave you be.
And I'm looking at Bertrand while I say that.
Okay.
I think Stella stands up and agrees and is like, a fair point, Alphonse, of course. We are also curious as to why it seems that the news of disappearances is not actually news to anyone of this council, and yet so little has been done. Have we really lost such faith in the people? Have we misplaced our interests so that they are not in the actual citizens of this city? I'm actually very curious. Valentina, my friend, you always have an ear to the ground. Have you heard anything? What do you know?
I will say, I have had some clients go, that haven't shown up for the last 2 to 3 weeks. And that concerns me. I have been busy, very unfortunately, at the bedside of my son. He is falling gravely ill. But I don't have names of the disappearances. But I hear rumors, and I think that is what the rest of the council has also heard. There are just rumors flitting about who could be the cause of this, and how many people have actually gone missing. And Jenny down the road, I think she had a little bit ago. And it's just so tragic.
It's down the street.
She doesn't
We
It's
can
know.
never
Jenny
get it
down
right.
the street.
There's 2 Jennies. There's only Jennies have gone missing.
The connection!
I-
We connected the dots.
Alphonse will wait his turn, but then produce a separate copious amount of notes and say, you know, here's all that we have, here's the collected rumors, here's the list of people that we've confirmed disappeared, and a general accounting for what myself, Mia, and Venus, what's his last name, have been collecting over the past 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I think Bertrand butts in, and asks, he's like, Alphonse, may I see your notes, please?
You can. I'm happy to read them out loud to you.
Are you unwilling to share documented information with the city council?
I'm willing to share it with the entire council. I have a little problem, unless you just meant in the council, not like to take it home with you, right?
I would like to read your notes right here.
Oh, yes, everyone's welcome to read my notes right here. Oh, here, they're in duplicate.
Carbon copy.
One for each member.
Yeah.
That photocopy magic.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's illusion spell, but modified.
Mm-hmm. So Bertrand kind of takes your list, and some other people express interest, I would think. Valentina
I think
takes one.
Osmont takes one.
Yeah. And you don't have, like, you have Jenny's name on there. You, I would imagine, do not have the headmistress's name on there.
No, I have been specifically avoiding that as per my trait.
That's good. But, I mean, what do Alphonse's notes point to, like, being the cause of this?
I think they will have documented, especially because at this point we've found Mia, and Mia is at the school. Is that
Yes.
okay? So I think at that point there would be very detailed notes from Mia's experience at 21st and Birch, and anything that we could gather from there, including like notes from the school library, from anyone who was from the area and is not currently a crisp husk, to report on like what the heck was going on in that house. Did anyone see anything? And like anything that might relate any of the victims. Yeah, I think that's it.
Does Alphonse use names in his notes? Like, he would, right? He wouldn't just
I
be
think
like,
this person says this. Or he wouldn't be like, heard from a stranger today, so-and-so went missing.
right. But he would be
I
like,
think
Mia explored blah blah blah.
I think
Would Alphonse have incomplete notes, John?
No.
He wouldn't.
no, Alphonse would not have incomplete notes, but they would also not be very personal notes. So the name may come up. As he knows last names, they may be last names. It's going to be
Mia
very
does
much
not have a last name.
like then it'll be Mia, but it's very much like, okay, Mia is investigating this. Mia is the investigator. So the investigator did this, this, and this.
Oh, it's like you're writing a student housing report.
It's exactly like I'm writing a student housing report.
What a terrible reference. No one understands that.
But it doesn't. The notes also talk about 23rd and Birch. Or whatever.
21st, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They do.
So
A lead was taken from, and then I list Loverboy's lover,
yeah.
and whoever else gave us that lead, and then yeah.
Okay. So Bertrand's skimming through these notes. And he reaches the part about 21st and Birch, and I'll get to you in a second, Logan. But he reaches this part, and he turns, like, stands up and turns to everybody, and he's like, fellow council members, this is what I was trying to address initially. The explosion that occurred in the North Ward, this witch girl. I have been trying to get a hold of her to cleanse her evil from this world, and have been unable to. She transforms into terrible creatures and casts evil spells on people, and this is proof that she was the cause of the explosion. And they holds it up.
Bertrand, I knew you were always a dog person, but I didn't realize a cat was a terrible creature. If you'll recall, she was being falsely obtained by royal guardsmen who were masquerading as city guard, which is illegal, I might add.
Not
and
anymore,
so,
my dear Alphonse.
well, certain
No,
I mean,
Lance steps
Sir
in. He
Phil,
says, no, they
Sir
are still not
Phil.
allowed to impersonate anyone from another
Yes.
military force.
Yes, exactly.
They are allowed to exist, but they must exist as themselves.
And
Spies
as
are
I
always illegal, Bertrand. Thank you.
As I might add, Sir Gregory or Sir Bertrand, whoever was trying to interrupt me yet again, they have jurisdiction
As Sir
at
Philip was saying,
within
the
the
city council
aristocracy.
is not usually
Oh, fuck
talking.
Bertrand.
So,
You mean the city guardsmen? Well,
yeah, the city
we have never been interfered with before so openly and so heinously. For the most part, I thought it was understood that our role was to protect the city. Since we have been interfered with our task, we will set whatever has been wrong.
Thank you, Alphonse. Your notes are very well detailed, and your input has been very valuable to our committee. You are a beacon of information, and we are all gifted to have your presence here. Now, your notes do reference a few troubling accusations. One, these royal guard mercenary folk do seem to be gallivanting around impersonating whoever they wish. However, it does explicitly say here on page 842.A II subsection 2 that
yes,
that the investigator, which if you will reference the definition section at the very beginning, will say
yes,
one Mia was the one who was in charge of the incident or the cause of the incident that happened on this date at 21st and Birch Streets. No?
That is correct.
So, it
Mr.
also
Osmond.
says, going further into Appendix C, that the current whereabouts of one investigator, was referencing the definition section, is Mia, is currently at the magic school, or is a student of the school?
She is indeed a student of the school, and that's been no secret, I assume, since Bertrand has been shouting it from the rooftops, trying to get her illegally arrested in the first place.
It would appear to be very legal arrest if she is the cause of the 21st and Birch massacre.
If she's arrested by the proper authorities, which has not been pursued at this point in time, you'll recall, those three students, one of which was myself, were the only ones to make any efforts to look into these disappearances.
Okay, thank you. Stella, your school seems to be involved in this massacre. And I would hope that you would see to it that the student, this pupil, is brought before the council.
Stella rises and she says, with a heavy heart, we do say that we were involved in the massacre. Members of our student body are like family to us. But, as we all know, magic is not some law that you can understand wholly just by reading it. It is a force that is beyond us that allows us to achieve things beyond that which nature allows, as you have seen so clearly, Merchant Lord, and profited off very greatly. And we are more than happy.
Forever indebted to your.
And we are more than happy to help with that. And
that is one point I
it
would
is
like to
a shame
you, Stella.
that she caused such an accident. We are sure beyond belief that a student of ours would never do something like this on purpose. And it is indeed an accident. Fires happen for a variety of reasons. What is the difference between a candle that is left unattended and a student who has a magical outburst they cannot contain? In fact, by taking her to the school, we put her in a safer place where she might be trained in order to manage such outbursts. Would you rather than being in the wild? She was literally living in a forest.
I am
Would you
sure
rather
our
the forest be ablaze?
I am sure our most noble admiral would deal with any threats outside of the city. But to build on your analogy of a candle versus a student, one can be snuffed out. Can the other?
One does not explode in a fiery hell of green.
And yet one still creates a flame just as easily as another, and both
Hold on,
are useful.
Abby.
One gives light, and one can bring new knowledge to the world.
Abby, which of your characters was just
Bertrand.
speaking? Of course.
Yeah.
It's more than any of your gods have ever done. He doesn't actually say that. What he does say, or what I wanted to clarify was, would I have told Stella about finding the zombie-ish body?
I don't know. Would you have?
I would like to have,
Yeah.
but I don't know if... Okay.
Is it in your notes?
Yes.
It probably would be,
because...
yeah.
Yeah, because unlike Bertrand, I went and saw To All of the Dead.
Yeah. I mean, he did too, but, you know.
Oh, well, that's so lovely. I was there first. So yes, those are in my notes, and I guess as would it be that I tried to convince Captain Logan of the Royal Guard, and I guess that's it. I don't know if I would have brought that to Bertrand's attention.
I don't think you would have.
I think Bertrand would not have listened to me had I tried. Let's put it like that.
Well, Stella, if you can assure the council that you are dealing with this problem and you pay the necessary reparations to the damages that your student has caused, I see no reason to pursue this pupil if you can assure us that she is well taken care of. However, I had mentioned your reparations to the city. Some of our warehouses burnt down, and the merchant does represent the lifeblood of the city, bringing in supplies that will be needed to rebuild the city after that massacre. And so, maybe some payments are in order, or an immediate also reinstatement of the food that you are all obligated to provide to us.
She's like, oh, she does not like the word obligated.
Well, they have a contract, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think.
I'd imagine, but the mage school does not think itself beholden to anyone.
Clearly.
The merchants
Right,
have
yeah.
also not been getting, like, regular shipments for weeks. Like,
Ever since the headmistress went missing.
Exactly.
2 weeks. Okay, sure. Well, she's not the only one who can do that in
She-
Champion,
Yeah, I thought
right?
we just-
Like, the whole purpose of Stella being the second in command is that that's what she does.
Yeah, and she hasn't had the time because she's been busy doing everything else.
Yeah.
I think
There's that.
maybe
I think they're
they've
working on
gotten
it.
trickling shipments, but not the normal. Like, because the
Mhm, mhm.
headmistress,
Sure.
that was her part-time job in addition to,
Mm-hmm.
and she was better at it than Stella is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was the
Well,
best.
she's been at
She
it.
was the enchantment
She's been at it
master.
some
I
bit
think, yeah,
longer.
she invented it. That's why she was the head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Sure, yeah. Could
Stella rises up and she says, we do promise to this council that we are taking care of our student and making sure she is reprimanded as is appropriate, and we are heavily considering a lockdown where she will be retained entirely on the student grounds for the foreseeable future. But I think, despite the travesty this has caused, there is a greater issue. We have these disappearances, and yet no further leads have been applied to it. And while I understand that the food and the reparation is important, this is a long-term solution to physical goods, which are not the same as the people that make up the actual lifeblood of this city. Literally, the blood.
Stella, you Actually, no. I think he accidentally calls you by the headmistress's name.
Uh,
What's her name? I don't even
Sophia.
remember.
Sophia. They're
Sophia.
close,
Yes,
so it's easy.
Sophia. The, a few disappearances here and there are nothing compared to this massacre. Add up the bodies, and you can see that you have caused much more damage in your investigation than you would have prevented thus far.
How many disappearances are we actually up to?
you don't know.
I don't think we have a concrete number. I think that's part
You
of the
know
problem.
at least 2. Like,
And,
Oh
and
my
how
gosh,
many
okay.
died in the massacre of
Hold
21st and
on.
Birch?
so many.
Hold on now. So
had-
you're telling me
I like a
we
dozen
had-
and a half, but
okay, so 8. We'll say
and
18
there
for
were
now.
rumors going like you don't have any confirmed disappearances other than the 2, but you have
Yeah.
heard of people going missing. You just haven't like gone there and been like, is this person gone? Like,
Boo.
Right,
you
right.
don't have names.
I think Stella is like, while you were correct, the immediate effect of the fire is more devastating. The long-term effects of these disappearances could be far greater if we do not start keeping at least track of them so that we know how many are disappearing, as opposed to, it is a large city. We expect things to happen. As much as we would wish it to be a perfect place, it isn't. People die. There's thievery. There are evil people in the world. But this seems to be more than that, as shown in Alphonse's notes, section 3 on page 10, subsection II. He mentions
V.
I don't know. Fuck it. He mentions a body that seems to have that does not match with the rest of the victim. And I have indeed consulted our own master of the dark arts, and he is concerned that there could be someone behind such disappearances in order to practice a form of magic that is truly despicable and needs to be stopped. But we cannot find him just on our own. We will require the help of other council members. The school is but one part of a great wheel.
If
It seems as though you have been letting students investigate. Where is Sophia? Why is she not investigating this herself?
I'm very sorry, Sir Philip Gregory, but if you did not hear me earlier over your oblating, I said she was sick and in bed and needs her rest. Now, if you will not listen to me, do not speak to me.
Bertrand speaks
Ugly.
up, he stands, and he's like, if she is so sick, I may offer the services of our faith in the church, and I could take a look at her and try to heal her.
Alphonse speaks up and says, similar to the way that you were going to heal me.
No, Alphonse. Sophia has performed many great services to the city, none of which include exploding a section of the city and killing dozens of our civilians.
I see our intrinsic worth is based on our value to each other.
Yes.
I was confused. I was, but you've shown me the light.
Sophia says, Bertrand, while we appreciate the offer, we feel like it would be not the most helpful at the moment, and we have truly our greatest mages looking at it, and I am constantly by her side, except for when I am derailed by such lovely and productive meetings as these.
You are free to leave.
If only you would.
I was not aware that the magic school trained people in healing. This is news to me.
Well, you have never taken
It's-
the most keen interest in our variety of studies, but we do many alchemical potions, poultices, herbs, and things of practical effects that do not necessarily rely on the mystical
Mhm.
and spiritual.
I do insist. I would love to take a look at her, just if there's anything I can do. I would hate to see the city council fall into shambles were she missing or sick. Again,
Can
how
can
long do we think this is going to go on for?
I do agree. How long do we think that this will last?
can Alphonse interject?
Yeah.
Alphonse can always interject.
Just go for
He
it.
is going to interject, and he's going to say, since everyone is so eager and ready to spend time and resources on a problem, could we focus on the disappearances, perhaps, especially since Bertram's use the Royal Guard kind of set us behind?
I think that moved our city forward, Alphonse. But I would like to, if we have a council member who is in need of our help, we should help them. That is what Asclepius would want us to do.
I lost thought.
Sophia is the longest serving member of our committee, and she would have the most guidance on how to combat these disappearances. I fear it would be unwise to act without her input, at least.
Well, you acted on incorporating the Royal Guard without her input. Surely we can do something.
Well, yes, one is mystic, and one is a simple matter of administration.
Oh, a simple matter of administration. I see assigning resources as a simple matter of administration.
I
If
think
the
Lance-
city guard needs more
Yes.
resources, then the merchants are happy to oblige if the council would like to purchase them more resources. They're not available. You just need to pay up for them.
I actually don't know if that's how the City Guard operates.
I mean,
Is that how it
yes.
works?
He pulls out a ledger and he says, "You can see over the past few months we have spent a decreasing number of supplies. The council has spent a decreasing supply of gold on supplies for the city guard. And I've moved that we double or even triple that amount."
Yeah, I think there's different ways you could go about it, because you could try and get Lance to provide you with military support, or you could do monetary, or you could force Stella within a public sphere to commit magical resources. So I think Alphonse needs to have a duel of wits.
Yeah, but you
Of
can,
some
you
kind.
can pick with whom.
Oh boy.
With anybody, really.
Can we take like our
We should
midway
break,
break
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah,
should
yeah.
figure
break,
that out?
and you
Cool.
can think about it.
Thank you.
No
Let's do that.
problem. Yep, so we will be back in 10, and then, I don't know, we might go late tonight. There's a holiday tomorrow. We'll see.
It's a holiday.
Yeah.
I'm having so much fun with this.
I know,
I'm
it's
having
really
a lot of fun, to be honest.
So we'll be back for more Duel of Wits fun in 10 minutes. See you all then. And we're back. We'll just jump right into it. We discussed kind of where we want to go, but we're gonna see if we can get there nicely, and then have like concrete statements of case and stuff like that. So I think, where did we leave off? Alphonse was looking for resources in the investigation into the disappearances. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. And that's where we're starting, right?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, the city guard has been stretched thin by some intrusion, and we really, one, would love for people to, if they're not going to help, to at least stay out of it, but we would really appreciate the help.
I think Sophia backs him up and says, "We agree. I think expanding the city guard is a relatively neutral way of providing aid for the tragedy that has befallen the city, as well as to try and look into whatever suspicious may be happening."
And which issue are these city guard going to deal with? my dear Stella, you said?
Yeah, you call yourself Sophia.
Did I call myself Sophia? Of course I did. I think Stella says, I believe the majority should be focused on the disappearances because I believe it is a long-term issue that maybe has been hiding right under our noses. And if it's not confronted sooner, it will become a much larger problem later. But if we were to expand the purview of the city guard large enough, I feel like they could provide plenty of services as well for rehabilitating the damaged ward.
It is not so much this damaged ward that I am concerned about, more so that this city council has proof of a criminal and they are choosing to do nothing about it. We have notes that specifically point to Mia being the perpetrator of the incident. These disappearances we have very little information on. Why would we not deal with the obvious solution?
It does
for the
make
smaller
sense.
group.
Bertrand,
It does make
Bertrand-
sense to speak to this Mia. If she was there, she will have information on both the disappearances and the massacre.
the High Priest Russo raises an interesting point in that we shouldn't arrest someone now that we have evidence, although he wasn't interested in evidence prior to this meeting. What Professor Bianchi had mentioned previously was that Mia was most likely under lock and key for a significant period of time, and that no other place is really equipped to handle or rehabilitate someone who has unfortunately had a magical mishap than a magical school. I don't know, Bertrand. Are you convinced that you could contain someone who can transform into, as you quoted, a terrible beast? Cats are very slippery.
I trust that the gods and goddesses of the temple would keep us safe and would be able to contain whatever vile magics she might try.
Well then, Bertrand, the gods and goddesses are doing that from the magic school.
So it's like, well, they failed to protect you against a fire. But beyond that, I think while it would be very satisfying to hold Mia accountable, at the end of the day, what does it gain you? Nothing. We already know she caused the fire. The fire has already happened. People's lives have already been lost. We can move forward, or we can keep focusing on the past.
We should move forward, and we need to do so by speaking to this Mia. She is the only one with information. Alphonse's is second-hand. Hers will be first. If the magic school cannot safely transport her, they have no business keeping her in the first place.
She has given me all the information she would give you. If you're wanting to waste your time, I suggest you waste it looking for the person behind the disappearances.
And how do we know that this... When, Stella, did Mia come to Orestes? May I ask? And when did these disappearances start? How do we know that she is not the perpetrator of both of these incidents?
It seems unlikely that a student who has been here before the disappearance started, I mean, she was here 2-3 days at most, and I trust you, I traveled with her personally and was able to get a good look at her capabilities. While she does have talent, power, it is completely raw and unrefined. There's no way she could create such elegant and unnoticeable disappearances, as seen by the fact that her inability to control herself involves giant flame. I think
Let's do it.
Lance, is like, I agree though, Mia needs to be talked to at the very least. An interrogation is in order.
Yep. Okay, Duel of Wits.
Yes. Yes.
Hold your points for later, John. You'll
Oh,
need
yeah, I
those.
have them written down. I
Okay,
promise.
good. Okay, what are each of the sides? Let's see. We pretty much just stated the case for everybody, right? So that was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The terms, I think, are pretty obvious, right? It's just Alphonse and Stella, and then Valentina might pop in, but we'll see. Um,
Okay.
their terms are that the disappearances will
Escalate.
the search
Yeah.
into the
And
disappearances will get
must.
focus.
Yeah, I think primarily especially what Alphonse is arguing on behalf of the city guard, is that we have um, joint responsibility that is overseen by the city guard.
Yep.
So resources from everyone that are being handled centrally. And that we don't waste time on interviewing Mia again.
Then the other one, Mia will be
Do we want to just leave it at that, or do we want to have like the two minor characters on each one like add a little bit to what they want to see come out of this vote?
sure. That sounds fine. If people have ideas. If not, then we can just carry on.
I think Philip would want to see Mia in custody of the council, not the school.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
And Osmond just wants to know how we're paying for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lance doesn't care. It makes the most sense to do this next. And Stella already wants what the main focus is. She wants searching into the disappearances so that she has more information to find
Mhm.
Sophia.
Do you think Lance is also after council custody, or primarily just interrogation and whatever consequences come from that?
I think Lance is fine with. I think yeah, Lance would maybe be slightly pro council custody because he does not like the idea of the magic school kind of having complete purview. But
Mhm.
I don't think he minds too much as long as they have the opportunity to talk to her. Because boy, does he like to interrogate.
I feel like
Um,
Valentina would have an opinion because Venus has told Valentina that Mia has visions and she's using those to help find the headmistress.
Yeah.
Good
And so
point.
I think Valentina would be like, let's just let Mia go. Like, no harm, no foul. She had a little harm, but oh well.
Yeah.
Some harm, some foul, but not to any of us.
It's less that she cares about the disappearances and more that she cares about her own place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, Alphonse, on behalf of the city guard, having insight into both what facilities the guard has and what the school has and what Mia is capable of would probably just keep her at the school for everyone's safety.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm speaking for you, Abby, but I think Valentine would be like, oh yeah, let Mia just be under like house arrest at the school
Mhm.
because she wants Venus to still be able to talk to Mia.
Cool.
She might even suggest, like, she could take her in too, but
Oh, I really like that.
yeah.
That would be fun. Mia would hate it.
Okay, so we're gonna make this a big deal, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna make it a big deal.
I mean, it's depending on if Sean's character is arrested or he can keep
It's a
playing.
big deal because if Mia dies, I will be so upset.
She won't die. She'll just face consequences for her actions.
No, I hate consequences.
She'll face capital consequences for her actions.
And then John,
We don't know about that.
what's your will and your persuasion?
My will is a 4. My persuasion is also a 4.
Oh, so you're not anywhere.
Wow, that was high.
Yeah, so I'm not a total idiot. I just don't have the special forks or
Luckily
anything.
for John, Alphonse learned persuasion at the end of last session.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's yep. You would have had an untested body of
valuable.
argument then.
So-
I've been real
skill.
rough.
Since we're making this a big deal, as the book puts it, instead of rolling oratory or persuasion or whatever, we're just using the skill exponent and then adding that to the will exponent. So that's how we
Cool.
got those numbers, just so that everybody's up to date. So Bertrand,
How-
Philip, and Lance have a total of 9, and Alphonse, Valentina, and Stella have a total of 8.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Let's see. Do we want
Alright.
to... Since we're doing multiple, we still can't, like, play the same in a row, right?
Yeah.
The same action in a row? No. You can never do the
Okay.
same action in a row, I don't.
Got it.
So...
And the leads are Bertrand and Alphonse.
Yep.
So Abby and John will be the ones deciding cards.
Oh Jesus. That's
And I
so...
think me and Logan... Logan, do you even own... You don't
Yeah.
even have someone on the other side.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you're only on the other side, so I'll probably be mainly speaking to Stella for Alphonse, and Logan will be working for Bertrand.
Yeah, I guess so. Like John and Abby can assign the volleys, and then so like you can also assign who is doing what volley. Like if you're like, oh, I think Philip would be really good at making this.
Yeah, I guess, or we could, switch people throughout the volley.
Or we were gonna do one. I don't know if you were gone when we were like, each person's gonna do one of the volleys.
Oh, I might have missed.
I think you were gone.
Okay, so it sounds like what we're doing is Abby and I are picking the cards and then we're assigning the people as are flipped. Is that right?
That's correct. So like you'll be like, Alphonse is doing point, and then next I want Valentina to rebuttal, and then lastly Stella's gonna hesitate because she's a huge bitch.
Okay, got it. And that's like as the cards are flipped. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. How do I get rid of cards? Let's go.
This makes it harder because now you have to look at everyone's stats.
I know, it does make it harder. I don't know if that was a great...
I did it
best
because
way to do
I
it.
don't have to do anything.
I was gonna say, or we
I
could
mean,
just not do this. I meant, or you can just go for it and not look at stuff, which is.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
typically
the
what I
best
do.
way to do it.
Best way to do it is just pick and, take what you get.
I mean, y'all know me. I am not a min-maxy kind of person.
I mean, really, just figure out which ones you can use persuasion. Because he doesn't have anything else, I don't think. Philip is just gonna do honor besmirched if he loses.
That's always a fun outcome.
Oh my
Having
god,
to
I'm
kill
so excited.
the other
actually.
person. All three, or just Alphonse?
Alphonse versus Lance.
That's not how that
I don't
works.
think Lance would agree. I think it would have to be Alphonse versus Philip.
Well, Phil,
No,
I
I
think
think
choose
you
the.
You can
I
choose
think it
a
would-
champion, but they have to agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just choose the head of the royal guard.
Oh, okay, great.
At which point, Alphonse gets to choose.
Yeah, Alphonse is untested for a long time in the field of battle.
But
So
you do have
maybe-
magic.
But I do have magic indeed. Not that great either.
Let me tell you, I would avoid destroy with sorceress fire.
It's a big risk.
It's insanely lower for me than it is for you, Mia. So yes, absolutely, I would avoid that.
It's not very low on Mia's list, I don't think.
It's only one.
Oh my god!
The problem is it's like an automatic ob 4.
Oh my god, why is magic the worst?
Because we're still pretty low experience,
We are
all
super
things
low.
considered.
hmm We've gotten to use magic like 3 times.
Mm-mm-mm.
Okay.
Well, good luck, y'all.
This is gonna be awful. Is this
Hey, me and Logan took the blows for you first, so now you feel the pain.
Yeah, this is rough.
Yeah, this is what I'm
Wait, hold on. What's going on here? No, that checks out.
What was this one?
Make sure you read the nice graphs correctly, because otherwise you're in trouble.
I just like that
okay.
Abby and Sean are gonna have to argue for both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I read the chart. I didn't read the chart.
That's fine.
I don't know how badly it'll affect. This is.
I mean, the interactions aren't super important unless you're like avoiding or something like that.
Which is, yeah.
More
not-
inciting, which we both did, which I still love.
Oh, that
Which
was,
was
so
still fun. That was insane.
Though it ended in my complete and utter defeat.
great. not you actually won that volley. I took 2 damage. You took 1. I just destroyed you with my point.
It's true.
Yeah, you did destroy me with. Well, but that was because of the insight. Bad rolls. Also, none of us used any. You can use Fate and Persona. Well, you don't have
Yep.
any, but Alphonse, you can use Fate. So
Yep. I have faith. For sure. I think our team is good to go.
Oh jeez. Okay, I'm ready.
Whether or not my
I'm
team
so
This is
excited.
gonna be hilarious.
Whether or not
Very
my team
interested to
is
see
ready
where it
to
goes.
go, I'm ready for my team to go.
Okay.
Um,
Go
what is the
ahead.
button? What's the button to push to flip it over?
You
Right-click
right
and
click.
flip.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Are you ready? Whoa! That's not gonna work.
Ooh. Wow. Okay, so it's a versus.
For both sides, yeah. And side note, mine is being assigned to Valentina. So, Abby, I need you to feint against your obfuscation.
Well, who's obfuscating, Abby?
I'm looking at Fang.
I have it written down if we need to trust check, but
Obfuscate.
I wanted Bertrand to obfuscate, but I don't want to do both of them.
Oh god.
well, mainly Abby, I tied feint to Valentina because you can also, I think, tie in
Soothing platitudes.
Seduction and soothing
Seduction.
platitudes.
And
Yes.
poisonous platitudes. She has all of them.
She doesn't have
Yes.
platitudes.
She only has soothing P, I think.
Soothing pee.
All right. Wow, that's great. That's great.
Wow, okay. I'm gonna log off after that one.
So, who goes first,
So
though?
hold on. Yeah, Bertrand's doing.
Also,
the
this is
obfuscate.
unfortunate because it means, Abby, you have to talk against yourself.
I know it's hilarious.
I'm
but
living
then after
for
this,
it.
I'm done. Right? So.
Yeah. So that means Sean's probably gonna have to talk against Sean's self.
Great.
So Valentina's gonna go first,
Okay.
if that's good with everybody.
I
mean,
trust you.
Abby and
Sure.
Sean could switch so that you're both on one team if you don't want to talk against yourself.
I'll talk against
I don't
That's
myself.
true.
It's fine.
Okay.
I
Okay.
love
Already have
this.
so many voices in my head. What's another one?
So Valentina is gonna faint. Oh.
Okay, the other kind of thing.
Yes, Abby. How is she going to faint?
She says, I think this is where she brings up that she could take her in, right? So she says, I agree with the majority of the city council that Mia should not be in the custody of the magic school. She may be safe there, as she has been recently, but I believe she is best served to be in my custody. You know, I never fail to take excellent care of anyone who stays in the House of Passion. As some of you, too, have visited me, you would agree with me that there is nowhere safer and there is nowhere happier for a troubled girl like Mia to stay and be nurtured. So that's her. And
Good
then
faint.
Bertrand is going to obfuscate. So Valentina's talking and Bertrand interrupts her. And he's very flustered. And he's like, Ms. Labella, have you even thought about the consequences of thinking about moving Mia from the magic school to somewhere else? The thought is inconceivable, and you might as well throw her back in the forest for all I care, and she can just explode there. That's fine.
I need his rolls to match how bad that point was.
It was
I love it.
obfuscate, John.
Right, how
It was
bad
not a point,
obfuscation
it was an
Yes,
obfuse.
yes.
She can go explode in the floor.
Mia would much rather be in the forest right now. I'll be
I
honest.
believe that.
All right, we need some rolls.
Yeah, I got
So-
kicked out of the game, so I'm rejoining.
Oh,
What?
Oh no!
How?
No, it's all good.
But okay, so I get. Oh, hold on, let me read the thing for.
So it's a versus.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Bertrand
So
is going to use
if-
oratory.
Bertrand wins, your feint just doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Right.
If you win, your successes are able to be subtracted from his body of argument. So
Yeah.
your
Right,
wins can be
okay.
attacked from feint,
Yeah.
and if obfuscate wins, then nothing happens.
Got it. Okay, and I am rolling r/. So I'm rolling her.
Oh, and it can also add plus ob from obfuscate.
From obfuscate, yes. So I'm rolling because we tried to fold in seduction and I think soothing platitudes from Valentina, right? And or production or persuasion. I mean,
I think.
I would not give her
Mainly-
seduction.
What?
sure. Not seduction, but persuasion and soothing platitude.
Yeah. I think she was using persuasion, forking in soothing platitudes.
Yes.
Okay,
I
so
believe
I get 8d6. Is that what that means?
No, you get 5.
No, 5.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, you only
'Cause
get
the
5.
fork just adds 1.
Oh, okay, yeah. Wow, okay. Are we rolling at the same time?
I can.
Hold on. I didn't even
Are you gonna
type
do
right
the?
thing.
Are you gonna use your nice greater
so
and less?
Bertrand just gets 5, because I don't think he forked in anything. Obfuscate is silly.
Interesting.
It has some good benefits actually,
yeah, it
but
does.
Yeah.
not necessarily easy to use.
All right, John, you first.
That didn't do a
Oh,
thing.
and
Oh
we
my
did
God,
it
I
again.
did.
5.
It's /R, isn't it?
Yep. I don't know why that's so. Like we all want to do r/.
No.
5 successes. Whoa.
That's disgusting.
Oh my god.
Hold on. I want to use a fate.
You could fade it.
Or can I use my fate for
She can use
Valentina?
a fate if you want her to.
Valentina,
She's
you
going to
can.
use a fate. It's just 1d6, right?
Yeah.
Or 1d6.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
dang it.
John.
I don't want to talk
Wow.
about it.
Oh,
I don't
my
want to talk
gosh.
about any of what just happened.
Wait, doesn't she have a persona? Can't you make those ones explode?
No.
You have a
No.
6
Well-
though.
It's not how personas work.
I have no idea how this game works.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same.
So-
Okay. You exceeded your obstacle,
Yep.
right?
So,
Okay, so I just get
beat
+1
you by
ob.
1 or more. So your next, whoever's next action is at +1 ob.
Yeah.
Which I'll make a note of.
Yeah, I got this written down too.
Yes. So basically, the next person has +1 op, which sucks.
Okay. And no damage. So that was.
But no
Yep.
damage.
Pretty much.
All right. Flip the next one.
Cool.
A point.
Oh boy.
Point.
Ah!
Bonds. Flip. Flip like your life depends on it.
Yeah, my laptop had some issues.
Point. Point.
Point.
Isn't this interesting?
And who is making a?
Lance versus Stella.
No. Philip is making a point.
Ooh.
Oh, it's Philip versus Alphonse.
Brilliant
Ooh,
little boy.
fun.
And
Philip
Philip gets
Alf.
to go first because he's older. Or so tradition would dictate.
Yes.
Or so tradition would dictate. Philip will stand up, clear his throat, hack up something this time. Now, Mia is a criminal by any measure. She should be brought in and interrogated by the highest law of this council. And you, Alphonse, as the representative of the city guard, should have no say. You should be dragged from this room for affronting all of your traditions that you've just thrown out the window by voting. How dare you, sir?
There was so much obfuscation in that point. That's what bothers me.
He had a point.
Can I make a point and rebuttal his obfuscation?
I mean,
No.
you can talk a rebuttal. but not-
Yeah, sure, yeah.
But you have to make
Yeah.
a point.
Yeah, you have to make a point.
Yeah. Alphonse's point will be essentially that Mia has been interrogated by 2 members who are on the council currently, which if you want to go ahead and attack our honesty or truthfulness, you're welcome to here at the council. But since then, Mia's essentially been under lock and key by pretty much the only institution who's capable of containing any outbursts of magic aside from the forest, Bertrand. So our resources and time, as I'm sure all of you know, everyone's time is precious, are better spent on seeking out the true people or person behind the disappearances and the corpse that we found at the temple.
Good point.
And wait, and I will say that the that she is essentially under lock and key, which is essentially being imprisoned, and that it has been decided by the council that she has been guilty of the acts of arson. So it's basically like court has already decided and she is already serving out her punishment.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Just so I can fork in rule of law.
Oh, nice.
Yes, Philip wanted to use oratory and fucking intimidation, criminal-wise, and rule of law.
For fuck's sake.
I think etiquette
Wait,
too.
are we allowed to curse?
And
Yeah, I was
etiquette.
thinking etiquette.
Etiquette does not belong in there. No.
Oh,
Thank
no,
you.
he did.
He
He
did
said
etiquette.
throughout all the traditions of how to do it. I would give.
Yes, sorry, that's
Sir-
history, not tradition or etiquette.
I would give Sir Philip etiquette and
Oh.
intimidation.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So 6.
What about
Feels-
criminal-wise? He did say that she was a criminal by any measure.
You've got
Feels-
enough bonuses, really.
Yeah, feels not
I
right.
want Mia to be a criminal.
And as I explained, Mia is a criminal and she's being rehabilitated.
No, John, this is Logan.
Let me tell you about restorative justice, Logan. We'll bring her into contact with the families affected and it'll be fine.
Do I roll or do
Slash
you roll,
roll.
Abby?
You can roll.
Oh, what did I get? 6?
Yeah.
D6?
Yeah,
Greater than 3 or greater than 4?
Greater than 4.
greater than 4. Oh, Jesus.
This is holy crap with 6, 3
there
sixes.
goes. Yikes, there goes the health.
Wait, can
Um,
he spend a thing to make those explode? I don't know how this game works.
Yeah,
He
it's
could.
fate.
I want
Oh,
to spend a fate and
Jesus.
make the
His one
6s
fate.
explode.
Oh,
my
Phil,
God.
what a bitch.
You can spend a persona ahead of.
Before you
Well, no,
roll.
you don't. Alphonse doesn't have a persona.
I don't have a persona, no. Not since session 1.
Logan.
Holy shit.
Did you have to do it that way?
No,
Wait, 3d6.
I don't know what happened. I'm just gonna do it normally.
Yeah.
I thought when you
Roll
s-
3d6.
What was
I
the
was gonna say,
exclamation
yeah.
mark?
Exclamation's exploding.
Oh.
Yeah, and it worked. Or
No,
it
it didn't.
worked
I think it
Oh.
exploded things that were above 4.
greater than 4. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Interesting.
Okay.
Wow, that hurts significantly.
Yeah.
6
Okay.
damage.
And we subtract
Cool,
1
so-
from your point because of the obfuscate, John.
Yes, absolutely. So is that 1 from the die rolled or success?
1 from the successes.
Cool. So I'm doing persuasion and forking in where was I going with that?
Rule of law.
Forking in rule of law, and I guess that's it. Yikes,
Still
that
got 5.
sucks. Sure, max 4.
Good
oh
luck.
God.
Big yikes.
Well,
Big
I'm
yikes.
sorry. Mia's just gonna have to be intimidated soon.
Holy shit.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, Mia's F. Thanks, guys.
Mia is effed.
Y'all suck.
she'll be fine. Okay.
Look, we're still in minor compromise.
We're not,
She,
because he didn't do
doesn't
any
care.
damage because he had +1 ob on his second volley because of the obfuscate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, flip your third one. My third one's great.
Mine is
Oh,
also.
Oh
It's
my
like we're
God.
very similar
my
people.
God.
But wait, hey Abby, who's giving your dismiss?
Why did you do
Lance
this,
is with
John?
command.
Oh, good, because guess who my dismissal is from?
Stella.
Stella?
It is also from Stella. That's correct.
I hate you both so much.
You were so
Oh,
excited to see
Dismiss
Abby
yourself,
do
Sean.
this, so
Dismiss yourself, win, and arrest your character.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad to be playing a character that wants to arrest my character, who is being defended by another character that I play. Thank you. This is fun. I will continue the entire stream from now on. Thank you. All right.
Systems, Sean.
Oh my gosh. Okay. There's no good way to do this. From Stella's point of view, at least. Okay. Who goes first? I get to decide.
Lance does.
Lance goes first.
Yeah, and he can use oratory or command.
Oratory or command.
Or ugly truth, I guess, if you really want to. But...
No, I think he would use command. That makes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Lance looks over the council and he says, from a position of military authority, we must take in a criminal such as this who has killed members of our civilians and at the very least interrogate her to realize any information we might know. The very fact that there are people in this council defending her raises questions as to their allegiance within this city. The people that you so desperately seek to defend, Stella, have in fact been killed by this person you are harboring. I demand that you bring her for us to be questioned.
Nice.
Cool.
All right. And
Now
then
respond.
Stella, seeking to also dismiss, gosh, I don't know even what. So she can use persuasion and ugly truth. Too bad. Well, she can use persuasion.
She can use persuasion.
That's the best.
I had a reason for choosing her. Oh my god.
Well, give it to me now because
Just
she's
do
gonna
ugly
lose.
truth and be like, she's beyond your reach. You can try and fight. You can try and get her if you want, but
We have an army of mages at our disposal.
yeah.
Compared to
Declare-
an actual navy.
Declare an instant.
It's a civil war starting now. Okay. So
I guess
Stella,
my point with that was persuasion and then using I think sorcery wise and or history in terms of who's the most equipped to contain a magic user who can or can't contain themselves, and history as to, like, is there a precedent.
okay,
Also,
yeah.
definitely use astrology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Might
the
as well
stars
work
speak
it
it.
in. The stars are speaking to me because I need the help. All right. So Stella looks at Lance and says, I will not be intimidated by the military forces of this city just because you think you are special in some sort of way. The mages have provided important services for this city for so long that you could not do without us. But I believe, like I said earlier, this is really a straw man argument. Mia has already been contained by the magic school, which, as history shows, is the most effective way, as seen by the cataclysmic effects of Sir Alphonse when his magic was not contained and instead held by the aristocracy around, I believe it was 60 years ago. As such, I believe it is a null point to bring Mia around. She is well in capacity, and instead we must focus on the issue at hand, which I will also mention has been foretold by a series of bad omens within the stars.
Get all those forks.
And I was trying to get all those forks. We got ugly truth, we got astrology, we got history, and the general idea is persuasion.
Dump that silverware drawer on the floor.
She's gonna spend her persona and
Oh my
she's gonna
God.
spend her fate.
Yes.
All
We
right.
feeling it?
How many is that? 4? Astrology.
Or
5, 6.
astrology.
History.
But do astrology separate.
Right. That's true. So 4
Okay,
plus history.
4 plus astrology plus history plus persona.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So 7.
So roll 6, and then the 7th is.
Wait, did you do fortune wise?
Can I include fortune wise?
I mean, you were talking about the stars and shit.
Might as well. Hey, I'll take it.
He'll allow it.
Sure.
Okay. Wait, no. So yeah, so 4 for
4.
persuasion.
History.
History.
Fortune wise.
Fortune.
So 6.
And shit. Okay.
Plus
Okay.
astrology. So it's 6, and then 7 is after.
And you were adding your fate or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was adding the persona, that's why.
The persona.
76.
Mhm.
Okay. 76 greater than
Oh, plus 2 because it's a dismiss.
Yes.
4. Plus
Oh,
2?
yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right. Okay, so I've got 96 greater than 4.
Correct.
With 1 6 in there, and I spent a fate, so it explodes.
Yep.
1, 6, 4, so 6 successes so
successes.
far.
And then your
I'm gonna roll astrology,
Wow.
astrology. A 2, useless.
Better
Okay,
than a 1.
so
Still.
we've got 6 successes, which I think doesn't,
Yeah.
because it didn't pass.
I mean,
All right.
that it will still do damage, but
Yeah.
Lance gets 4 for command, plus
4 for.
intimidation,
Yeah, he was kind of using intimidation.
interrogation,
Sure.
and maybe strategy.
Yeah, I guess because he was saying it was the most logical sort of next move.
Is it
So
slash
7
R or R slash?
slash
R.
R.
I'll roll.
Are you
for
doing it, or am I
I'll
doing
do
it? 5s.
Yikes.
Would you like to fate that, Sir Lan?
No, he doesn't have to. He's got you where he wants you.
He does.
Pretty
It's a
much, he
standard
does,
test
yeah.
between the two of us. Dismiss versus dismiss.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, we forgot his +2.
oh yeah. Not that it probably matters. Nope.
It does.
Okay.
So it says, in a standard test, subtract each success rolled from your opponent's body of argument.
Yep.
Which means they win, but we get a major concession.
Yeah, you do. Good job, Stella.
Good job,
6?
Stella. I'm proud
So
of
it's a
you.
3.
Yeah, we're down to
minus
3.
six.
Nice.
So down to 3.
That was unlucky
Nice.
to
Thank
say.
Okay,
God, Stella.
that was clutch.
Yeah, it was. That really was clutch.
Thank God, Mia will live.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
major
so now it comes
compromise
time
should
to.
feel like losing.
Yeah.
For these people.
Yeah. Which it's up to the other side to put forth the compromise, correct?
I think it's
or
just
is
a
it
dialogue.
Collaborative.
I think Mia will be brought before the council.
She will. I think she'll
But,
return to custody of the school.
but she will be monitored by the council's agents.
The council's agent shall be the city guard and whoever it appoints.
No.
No.
I think, yeah, she'll be
Well,
brought
and-
forth, she'll be monitored, and the council agrees to start investigating the disappearance.
I think that was going to happen either. It's just what comes first.
Okay.
Especially if an interrogation of Mia yields no new information, like it will.
Oh boy, will it.
Oh wait, okay. Oh wait, I was
Yeah.
thinking about this wrong. I was thinking about the major compromise wrong. So it'd be Mia is brought before the council, is interrogated, and then is then returned to the custody of the school.
Yes.
With
to
no
do as
consequences
they see fit.
Yeah.
from the council.
Yeah.
That's a pretty major
Because
compromise.
yeah. Mia be
Yeah.
So they get to talk to her, but that's about it. And
Yeah.
Pretty
boy's
much.
the person to talk to.
But will return.
Yeah.
Yeah. Return safely to the custody of the school.
Does Stella know of August's ability to spread visions? I think. Oh, I don't know. I want to be like. I'm trying to prep things for Mia.
And I don't think it's even the custody of the school, Abby. I think it's just like return to the school as to be disciplined as they see fit. Like she is a student of the school, so she will be punished or not by the school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if we just lost, she would be completely off the council's radar, and they wouldn't be able to do
They
anything
wouldn't know
anymore.
anything about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that seems like a good compromise.
Yeah, I agree to that.
Okay.
And then we also somehow shoehorn in greater city investigation, right? Out of the meeting.
I think we're interrogating Mia, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yep. I'm down with it.
Yeah, I think the investigation will happen because of that either way, so it doesn't really need to be
Cool.
Enforced by the
Sounds good.
Wit.
Cool. Is that where we want to end? I think that makes sense.
I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This
Yay.
conclusion is come to, and maybe there's like a second council meeting scheduled where Mia will come before everyone and share her information with protection from the school when she shows up.
Are we doing that, or are they just summoning her right now?
Or that?
Oh, oh.
No, I mean, like, we're not going to run it now, but would
No, we're not doing it now. It's just like end with the school or the council being like, "Bring me Mia."
I don't know.
Either one, I don't know.
I feel like they would all be fed up with talking to each other, and
I think they would want to schedule another one. Yeah, I think they're tired and they want to spend as little time as possible around each other.
Yeah, I mean, they may honestly say, "Yeah, let's do it tomorrow," but I agree.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, I would say sometime within a week. Yeah.
I feel like it should be a week. I feel like the council is not allowed to meet more than once a week.
But this is so high priority.
Unless maybe dire circumstances, but
I think even
might not be dire enough.
I think even Alphonse would say we should talk to her as ASAP as possible.
Yeah. But what if it's written in the rules that you can't?
I doubt that it would be.
It's an archaic tradition, John, and we have to abide by them.
Yeah, I don't think there would be a minimum limit, like,
I mean,
or I guess maximum.
I think the council would self-impose that because they hate these meetings.
My character's been throwing tradition out the window all night, so he's happy to do that with more of them.
I think they had so much high of hopes when they first set it up that they wouldn't have been like, oh, we're immediately gonna hate each other. This is a good idea. We're gonna work together. It's okay if we meet every day. And then they realize they hate each other, and then they stretch it to as long of a limit as possible. Like, there is a limit. Like, you can't go more than a month without a meeting. They're like, oh, we are not meeting more than once a month.
Maybe Sophia's like the one person who like keeps them all together and likes it and enjoys bettering the city.
And she's gone, so it's.
And she's gone, so it's crazy. But like, she imposed a rule that's like you have to meet every 4 months or something. Like, it is long,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no minimum,
Mhm.
I don't think.
Yeah, so they could meet tomorrow if they were inclined. I don't think they are, though.
Probably not. I think,
No, we need some recuperating time.
yeah. So we'll talk about that in the days ahead. I'll message you all and we can figure out where we want to start next session.
Mhm.
But other than that, thank you all for joining us for our crazy Duel of Wits special.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Got wild.
Was enjoyable.
Very fun. I'm glad that we have experience now with the system, and I feel like I
Right.
could run it again comfortably, so
Yeah.
that's nice.
Right.
But yeah, so we'll
I
be
think-
back next week for Dungeon World, yeah? And
I think
then-
next time
Yeah.
Dungeon World.
I would love for Sir Philip to actually have an honorvis for demanding justice from Alphonse. Just bring it.
Sir Philip will be making a cameo in Dungeon World just because I love him so much.
He's pretty
Great.
All right, but everybody have a good holiday tomorrow, and
Yep.
we will be back next week with more tabletop role-playing games. So we'll see you then. Bye.